It's really not fair to force them to let their neighbor force them to participate in a well at a time when they may think it's too dangerous, they may think it's going to endanger their water supply, or they may want to just save the resource for the future. They may think the price of gas is going to get much higher in the future, and this is an asset that they would like to leave to their children or grandchildren and let them develop it at a time when the market may be better. So you're taking the compulsory integration statute, if it's applied to this, is taking that right away from them. So under the New York compulsory integration statute, the 60-40%, the 60% applies to the amount of acreage in the unit. So if somebody has a big farm or something and their neighbors have small house lots, one person who owns 60% can make the decision. The companies present it to you as if compulsory integration is a threat. You better sign the lease because if you don't, we're going to get it anyway. What they don't tell you is that you're much better off with that option. You're much better off with the options that the statute gives you if you're compulsorily integrated than if you sign the lease. Unless you've made some provision in the lease, they can drill a well, put a compressor station, or any various other sorts of processing units on your land, or put a pipeline on your land. The leases typically give them the right to do all of those things. If you haven't leased, they won't have those rights. The companies want you to lease because they are getting all these terms that are beneficial to them. They don't want you to do compulsory integration, but they want to make you think that compulsory integration is a bad option, and they want to make you think that leasing will help you, but that's not the way it works.
We had a boilerplate lease, and that without any amendments. But we didn't know that you could have amendments.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Because the landman said this is the standard lease,
right,
which wasn't a lie, but he didn't give us any information
right,
on
not full disclosure kind of
what
thing.
they were going to do. And one of the paragraphs says, the gas company must comply with state and federal regulations. So I think that means we're covered.
That you're protected,
I always thought that DEP was as strong. I'd heard you couldn't put anything in the wetlands.
Right.
You couldn't haul a log across the creek unless you had a permit. And the stone quarry guys said they were all over them out here, finding them all the time.
So you thought you'd be protected.
I thought they would be all over this.
Right.
What I didn't realize was for 5 counties, there were only 2 inspectors.
For the whole 5 counties?
For the 5 counties. When I found out they were going to drill just 700 feet from my house, that maybe we should get a water test. And I had gone to a few Penn State informationals, and they said if you're within 1,000 feet of your water source is within 1,000 feet of a gas well, you need to get a water test. I called the gas company and said, look, I heard I need a water test. And the landman said, you're a worrier, little lady. You don't need a water test unless you're going to have a gas well on your property. And I said, no. Now, I went to Penn State. He goes, oh, that Penn State. They're just, getting people all excited. So he basically said no to my request. We did get a water test independent of the gas company.
So you paid for the water test?
Yes. And, we didn't have manganese, and we didn't have, methane, and it was fine. Now we have manganese at twice the level that's drinkable, and long-term use of that water can cause brain damage. We've had elevated iron, not like our neighbors, though. Their iron was off the chart. It would cause organ failure if you drank their water. People have aluminum in their water, we have barium, we have a lot of things in the water, and some things that we don't know because the gas company and DEP do not test for the fracking chemicals, the huge list of chemicals.
They don't test for them.
No, you have to do that specific test. To find it, you have to know what you're testing for.
And yet you don't know what's in it. You don't know what they use in their frack chemicals.
Mm-hmm.
Talking and thinking about leases is that the companies hold all the cards. They have been doing this. They have signed tens of thousands of leases. Their lawyers have been involved in dozens of cases having to do with lease wording. They know this game. Individuals don't. They're really an example of corporations picking on individuals, using their vast resources and experience and manipulating homeowners and landowners. Unfortunately, the companies do not carry out their obligation, and the landowner must act. If you don't act, your lease won't terminate. Your lease does not terminate automatically, even if it has a date in it that you think should end the lease. Unless a company sends you a form, and none of them are sending them, which you can then go record, you have to send them a notice with some very specific information in it, and that form is available on the website. So you have to send that very carefully written notice letter. You have to send it return receipt requested. You have to make an affidavit of service, which is a short form. It's available on the web. You have to get that notarized. You go to your bank, you'll find a notary. These are steps that people can take, but nobody has explained them to people until the last couple of months. That's what we're trying to do. Not only do you have to notify the original company, say it was Chesapeake, but the law also reads that you have to notify any company that they have assigned any portion of your lease to. And what we're finding in Cortland County is that Chesapeake has sold a portion of all of their leases to a Norwegian company named State Oil, which also indicates that they're going to export our gas. They're not going to use it here and keep it cheap and usable for American people. These companies are going to use our gas to increase their profits for sale in Europe and Asia. But getting back to the leases, you not only have to notify Chesapeake, you have to also notify State Oil. They do not have to tell you when they assign or sell part of your lease. So what you have to do is you have to go to your county clerk. Some county clerks are online and you can do this research. Research the name of the original company that leased your land, and find out if they've filed any assignments. One poor gentleman in Cortland County had to notify 8 different companies in order to terminate his lease. Then you have to wait 30 days. In that 30-day period, all any of those companies has to do is file an affidavit with the county clerk, and they can extend your lease. They don't have to say why. Just file a simple statement with the county clerk, and your lease is extended. At that point, you're probably going to be in a situation where you're going to need a lawyer. Do not accept any checks. Any check that you get towards the end of the lease is sent to extend your lease, and if you cash that check, your lease can be extended into what is called the secondary period. But assuming that you get nothing back in 30 days, the law provides that you can file those notice letters and the affidavit of service with the county clerk, and that filing terminates your lease. It's very similar to entering a high-stakes poker game where you're betting your property and your water against a card shark who's been doing this for decades and who knows every trick in the book and knows the rules and changes the rules without telling you. The individual landowner is at a tremendous disadvantage in this picture, and you have to act very carefully and never trust the company. Never trust what a landman who's out there hustling in order to get you to sign away your rights. Never trust these people.
Here's Mark Ruffalo, actor and environmental activist, on his way to Albany. Pleasure to see you, sir.
Nice to see you. Thank you.
What are you going to be doing in Albany?
I'm meeting with the DEC Commissioner, Joe Martens, and I'm basically going to go to him with a very simple message from the grassroots movement, which is we want you to use the same logic that you're using for New York City and Syracuse and ban fracking for the rest of the state. In effect, the new DEC regulations will ban fracking in the watersheds of New York City and Syracuse, and the rest of the state is considered wide open. And by that logic, we say, hey, why are not the rest of the people in New York State is worthy of protection as the people in New York City and Syracuse? Well, I heard there was 5,000 NDAs that were have been signed.
NDAs?
Non-disclosure agreements.
Oh, God.
So once your life has been ruined, your home, I mean, your home is worthless after this has happened. No one's going to buy it. The banks won't give you a mortgage on it. Once that's happened, who do you turn to? The victim has to turn back to the perpetrator and beg them for...
Former gas industry insider James Northrop says, quote, "Fracking fluid contains chemicals that would be illegal to use in warfare under the rules of the Geneva Convention. This all adds up to a massive explosion of a dirty bomb underground," unquote.
We had very, very good water before they drilled.
Gene, can you tell us about the well pad here? I know it's right off your front porch, so you have to look at it all the time. I had heard some noises over there or something like that.
Yes, there's vapors that come out of those big round barrels out there, and that collects the fluid that comes up with the gas. I guess it would be frac fluid, right? Comes up with the gas and it separates, and that fluid goes into the round drums over there. And every few minutes you can see it and you can hear it. It releases vapors. Yeah, right into the air.
Tank out there is venting about every 10 minutes. I asked him, what is that stuff that's spraying out? He said, you don't want to know.
Yes, he's still on them. My
every
husband had
day.
to go on inhalers, 2 different types of inhalers because of breathing problems. And I'm short of breath also. I mean, I know that this is affecting us. We can feel it. Yeah, but we love to sit on this front porch. We've always sat out here. We sat out here, and I don't know what it's doing to us, but...
Have you had upper respiratory problems before?
No.
No. And then you both had the problems at the same time?
Right. Yeah, at the same time.
Yeah, we both had it. Cabot told us that whenever we wanted a drink of water, just to fill the glass up and set it on the counter and wait about 30 seconds until it stopped bubbling, and then it would be safe to drink it.
The pressure switch is in the top of the well. When it would cut that build up in there, and when it would call for water, you'd get a spark, and it was igniting it, and it was blowing that cap off the top of the well. And that's when they come around and said, Cabot's request, they would like you to have water. They want to shut your well off. DEP wanted to be able to take water samples from the well. They're afraid that when they do, it's going to explode.
In northern Texas, gas drilling country, there is an epidemic of childhood asthma. 1 out of 4 children suffers with asthma, while in the rest of Texas, only 1 out of 14 has asthma. Rural Wyoming, once known for its fresh mountain air and breathtaking views, is now looking a lot like smoggy Los Angeles because they're fracking for natural gas.
People near the gas fields of Wyoming have complaints of watery eyes, shortness of breath, runny noses. It's bad enough at times that children are not even allowed to go out for recess.
Imagine the peaceful serenity in your home.
Ruined by 24-hour industrialization just 200 yards from your back porch.
24/7 nightmare of trucks, loud swirling fire at night when the gas wells flared, big equipment and compressor stations.
Hundreds of trucks roar through, carrying a toxic brew with 596 toxic chemicals in the ground near you.
Transient workers living in man camps in your neighborhood, clear-cutting woods nearly overnight, and helicopters dropping tools in your neighborhood.
You have no say.
You've been fracked.